Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take a whole stack of sources and, well, pull out the really vital stuff for you. Today, we're doing a deep dive into something super practical, something that could really change your day-to-day. How to build the perfect English learning routine step by step. Our mission, to kind of unpack the secrets to making consistent, real progress in English. Make it feel less like a chore, more like a natural part of life. And the sources we have here, they're basically a step-by-step guide. Honestly, full of surprising facts and really actionable tips.
Yeah, and that's spot on. This topic is just so crucial. It's foundational, really, because crafting a routine that actually works, it's way more than just studying now and then. We're talking about tapping into a kind of transformative power here, creating this continuous journey, this compounding effect that leads to steady progress and, long-term success. But here's something really important right at the start. The perfect routine. It's not some one-size-fits-all thing you just copy. It's inherently subjective, deeply individual. It has to be tailored to your goals, where you are right now with your English, and the actual time you've got.
Okay, so if we're building this routine, like piece by piece, where's the starting point? What's the first brick? The sources seem really clear on this one. It all starts with setting clear objectives. Sounds simple enough, right?
Right.
But they really hammer home why just saying, I want to learn English isn't really enough. That kind of broad goal, it just leads to scattered effort and honestly, probably a lot of wasted time.
Exactly. And to avoid that scattered effort, the sources bring up the SMART framework for setting goals. And look, this isn't just some corporate jargon. For language learning, it's incredibly powerful. It brings clarity. So SMART stands for S specific.
Right.
So instead of learn English, it's more like I'll learn 10 new business vocab words each week. Much clearer.
Okay.
M is measurable. You need to know if you're hitting the mark. So maybe I'll hold a 5-minute chat with a native speaker without, major hesitation.
Got it.
Measurable.
A is achievable. Got to be realistic.
Yeah,
Don't aim for fluency in a month if you're just starting out.
makes sense.
R is relevant. Does the goal actually matter to you? Does it line up with your interests, your job, why you're learning in the first place?
Yeah, that's key.
And T in time-bound, needs a deadline. By the end of the month or maybe within 6 months. This whole structure, it gives you purpose, it lets you track how you're doing, builds confidence, and it really motivates you. And there's this powerful psychological trick here too, breaking down those huge kind of scary goals.
Break them into smaller, more manageable bits. This means you get these frequent small wins and these little successes. They fight that feeling of being overwhelmed and seriously boost your internal drive. It's like the perfect answer to that lack of motivation problem because you get this positive feedback loop going. Achievement feels good, so you keep going.
Oh, I totally get that. That feeling of overwhelm when a goal just seems massive. Breaking it down feels, doable. So, okay, you know what you want to achieve. SMART goals are set. But then the big question, how much time do you actually have? Our sources really push for being brutally honest here. How much time can you really commit consistently, day in, day out? It's about looking at everything else, work, family, life, and then carving out specific dedicated slots for English, like really prioritizing it.
Exactly. And it's not just finding time, it's optimizing it. The advice is try to use your peak productivity times for the really focused stuff, when you're most alert. But here's a really smart bit. Leveraging dead time.
Dead time.
Yeah, those moments you usually spend passively, like your commute or when you're cooking or even working out. You can fill that time listening to English podcasts, audio lessons, stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
And the sources talk about this thing called the consistency multiplier effect. Basically, short, focused study sessions, say 30 minutes every day, tend to be way more effective for actually remembering things and sticking with it than like one massive session once a week.
Really? That's interesting. I might have thought longer is better.
It's kind of counterintuitive, isn't it? But yeah, research suggests our brains actually consolidate information better in these shorter, regular bursts, marathon sessions. They often just lead to cognitive overload, diminishing returns.
Right, that feeling where your brain just feels full.
Exactly, that's the cognitive load. Keeping the chunks manageable stops you from getting tired and burning out. It makes the whole thing sustainable. And definitely use a calendar, a planner, whatever works. Block out those study times. Make them actual appointments with yourself. Non-negotiable.
Okay. So no more mindless scrolling on the train for me then. My phone won't know what hit it. But seriously, that idea of using those little pockets of time, that's really clever. Listening to all these strategies, it makes me think, is there like one main thing, one core principle holding it all together. And the sources, they actually point to something. They say consistency is, like, unequivocally the single most important factor. And to build that consistency, they talk about this three-part loop for habits: cue, routine, reward.
Absolutely. Understanding this loop is really the key to making learning feel less like effort and more automatic. So the cue, that's just a simple, stable trigger. It could be your phone alarm.
Right.
Or even better, linking it to something you already do every day. Like maybe you use your language app right after you brush your teeth.
Piggybacking on an existing habit.
Exactly. Then there's the routine. The trick here is to make it as easy as possible to start. Reduce the friction. So the advice is often to start with atomic habits. Tiny little actions, like a 10-minute vocab review. Then you can gradually build up from there.
This is 10 minutes, okay.
And finally, the reward. This needs to be linked to finishing the routine. It could just be that good feeling of making progress, satisfaction. Or maybe a small treat you give yourself.
Like 5 extra minutes of music?
Yeah, something like that. And there's this deeper thing happening too, what they call the identity shift. When you do these things consistently, learning starts to feel automatic, right? But more than that, you actually start to see yourself as someone who learns English or speaks English. And that shift in identity, that's a really powerful internal motivator. It makes you want to keep going.
Wow, that's powerful.
And related to that is habit stacking, which you kind of mentioned. Linking the new thing, listening to an English podcast, to something you already do without thinking, like your commute. It just takes less mental energy, makes a routine much stronger, less likely to fall apart when motivation dips. That makes so much sense. Start small, make it easy, link it to something else, feel good about it, and eventually, you just are an English learner. So if someone starts with that 10-minute atomic habit, how do they know when to, level up? How do they increase it without getting overwhelmed again?
That's a really practical question. The sources suggest you just need to pay attention. Pay attention to your energy and whether you're actually doing it consistently. When that 10-minute session feels pretty easy, like, no big deal, you do it without really resisting, that's probably your cue.
Okay.
Then you could try adding maybe another 5 minutes, or perhaps tack on a different small activity like a quick 5-minute grammar thing. The key is gentle expansion, not these huge leaps.
Yeah.
You want to keep that feeling of success going.
Got it. Slow and steady builds the habit. It's not just what you do, but really how you weave it into your life. And speaking of the how, our sources also talk about using techniques backed by research. They really highlight something called spaced retrieval practice. Sounds a bit technical, maybe counterintuitive. Yeah, it can sound that way, but it's incredibly effective. Spaced retrieval practice basically means you deliberately try to remember something you learned earlier, right at the point when you're starting to forget it. You do this at specific spaced out intervals. It feels harder than just rereading.
Right.
But that desirable difficulty, that effort, is exactly what strengthens the memory long term. It's like working out a muscle. The effort builds strength.
Okay, so how do you do that practically?
Well, things like delayed translation quizzes testing yourself later, or active recall activities based on stuff you've read, structured writing tasks where you have to remember certain grammar or vocab, systematically rotating through topics, and digital flashcard apps like Anki. They're amazing for this because they automate the spacing. They show you the card right when you're most likely to benefit from recalling it.
So it manages the intervals for you.
Exactly. And the key difference here is active retrieval versus just passively rereading.
Yeah.
You're forcing your brain to work to pull that information out. That effort builds really strong memory pathways. And apparently it works even better if you revisit the information in different ways, different contexts, and maybe mix up related and unrelated topics. Helps build more flexible connections in your brain.
Okay, so we've got goals, time management, habits, and this powerful memory technique. What does this all mean as you actually get better at English? Does the routine stay the same? The sources say absolutely not. Your routine has to evolve. And they bring up the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, the CEFR, as a way to guide that evolution.
The CEFR. It's basically this internationally recognized standard. It lays out language ability from A1, which is total beginner, all the way up to C2, which is mastery level. And it breaks it down across the core skills: reading, listening, speaking, writing. What's really neat about it is it serves two main purposes. First, it's like a diagnostic tool. It helps you pinpoint exactly where your gaps are. Like maybe you're generally B2 level, but you realize your spontaneous speaking isn't quite there. The CEFR helps you see that.
I see.
And second, it's a huge motivator. It gives you clear benchmarks. Hitting B1, then B2, it boosts your confidence because you can actually see the progress you're making. It's like climbing a ladder.
A roadmap and a progress tracker. Got it.
Yes.
That makes a ton of sense. And then the sources really break down how to tailor things for different CEFR levels, which feels super helpful, like scaffolding the learning.
Absolutely. Because what works for a beginner just won't cut it for someone advanced and vice versa. The routine has to grow with you. So for beginners, A1, A2, it's all about the foundations. Basic listening, core vocabulary, simple sentences. Think read alouds, music, lots of visuals, maybe physical actions, learning basic survival phrases, simple introductions, resources. Bilingual quizzes can be good, basic apps like Duolingo. And a really important point for beginners, try to avoid too much direct error correction. It can be discouraging.
Oh.
Yeah. Instead, it's better to just model the correct way right after they make a mistake. The goal is just to get them talking, producing language without fear.
Okay, build confidence first.
Exactly. Then, moving to intermediate B1, B2. Here, the focus shifts, developing more fluency, handling more complexity. You start bringing in more academic-type language, expanding vocabulary significantly, using more complex sentences. Activities could be modeling new vocab, giving fuller explanations, maybe group discussions, using things like think, pair, share, describing experiences, following plots in simple stories or news, resources. TED Talks are great, especially with transcripts, news sites with simplified audio, CNN 10, VOA Learning English, movies, TV shows, maybe with English subtitles at first, and error correction here. It becomes more targeted. You focus on mistakes that actually block understanding.
Makes sense. Focusing on communication.
Right. And then for advanced C1, C2 learners, now it's about refinement, mastering the nuances. Polishing syntax, understanding pragmatics, how language is used in context, improving pronunciation, getting comfortable with idioms, aiming for near-native fluency, especially in academic or professional settings. Activities, identifying subtle vocabulary, using graphic organizers for complex thoughts, maybe exploring word origins, understanding jokes, delivering presentations. Resources could be more advanced podcasts like All Ears English, unscripted interviews, ESL Lab, LO.org, authentic news like BBC or NPR. Complex reading materials, and correction. It gets much more intense and specific here. You might even address errors that don't block meaning, because that's crucial for reaching that mastery level. So, you see, it's not contradictory advice across levels. It's a strategic evolution of feedback, matching the learner's readiness and stage. Beginners need encouragement. Advanced learners need that fine-tuning.
That's fascinating how the whole approach shifts. It really underscores that personalization aspect. And another thing the sources really emphasize is making sure the routine is, well, truly well-rounded. Integrating all the skills. Listening, speaking, reading, writing, plus vocabulary and grammar. This holistic approach, they say, is what stops you from hitting plateaus, keeps everything moving forward together.
Absolutely. You can't just focus on reading and hope your speaking improves dramatically, right? They all need attention. We could dive deep into each one, but let's take listening comprehension as a key example, keeping in mind similar ideas apply to the others. For listening, the big emphasis is on consistently exposing oneself to authentic materials.
Authentic material.
Yeah, real-world stuff. Audio, video content that native speakers actually use and listen to, not just textbook dialogues. This kind of contextual immersion trains your ear and your brain to process English as it's actually spoken with different accents, natural speed, interruptions, everything.
Okay, so less simplified stuff, more real world.
Exactly, and this applies across skills. For speaking, you need consistent interaction, talk to yourself, record yourself, find conversation partners, tutors.
Right.
For reading, varied up, news, stories, books. Start easier if needed, but move towards authentic texts. For writing, practice journaling, summarizing emails, online forums. Focus on getting your message across clearly first, then work on complexity.
And vocab and grammar.
Integrate them. Don't just study lists in isolation. Use the new words and structures when you speak, when you write. Notice them when you read and listen. Now, back to listening resources, specifically lots of options. Podcasts like BBC Learning English if you need it slower, or All Ears English for faster, real-world chat.
Okay.
TED Talks, great topics, plus transcripts. News websites with audio-authentic ones like BBC, NPR, the simplified ones like CNN 10, VOA. Movies and TV shows, obviously. Maybe start with subtitles, then try without. Things like Friends, The Crown.
Yeah, good examples.
Music. Sites like lyricstraining.com make it interactive. Unscripted interviews on ESL Lab or LO.org, you hear lots of different speakers. And language exchange apps like HelloTalk or Speaky for real-time practice. Consistent exposure to real English is just so important for listening. So if we were to kind of boil it all down, summarize the core ideas for building that optimal routine. Remember, it's dynamic, it's personal, it's not a fixed recipe. It really hangs on a few key things. First, Precise goal setting. Using that SMART framework, breaking big goals into smaller wins.
Right. The SMART goals.
Second, strategic time management. Finding those dedicated slots, using the dead time, and remembering that consistency beats intensity. Short, frequent sessions work better.
Consistency over cramming.
Exactly. Third, cultivating sustainable habits. That cue routine reward loop. Starting small with atomic habits, building that learner identity, using habit stacking, making it stick.
Habits.
Fourth, using research-backed techniques, especially spaced retrieval practice, active recall, not just passive review, making your brain work for it.
Active recall.
Yeah.
Got it.
And finally, personalization and adaptation. Using things like the CEFR to guide you, changing your strategies and resources as you improve, scaffolding your own learning.
That's a fantastic summary. Really ties everything together, gives a clear path. So for you listening right now, what are the actionable takeaways? What can you start doing today? First, define those SMART goals. Sit down. Figure out what you want to achieve specifically in listening, speaking, reading, writing. Make them measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. Review them regularly. Second, optimize your time and be consistent. Find those study blocks, even short ones. Use your commute, your lunch break. Remember, frequent focused effort is better than long, tiring sessions. Third, build those learning habits. Identify your cues. Make starting easy, maybe just 5 or 10 minutes. Reward yourself, even just with acknowledging your progress. Stack habits if you can. Fourth, embrace active recall. Test yourself. Summarize what you learned. Try to explain concepts in your own words. Don't just reread notes passively. Fifth, personalize with CEFR. Figure out roughly where you are now, A1, B2, etc. Choose materials and activities that are challenging but not overwhelming for your level. Adjust as you grow. And finally, immerse yourself with authentic materials. Listen to real podcasts, watch real shows, read real news. Make English a part of your actual world, not just a textbook subject.
And maybe a final thought to leave you with. This whole journey, it isn't just about learning words and grammar rules. It's really about transforming how you see yourself as someone who can connect and communicate globally. So as you build this consistent routine, ask yourself, what new identity are you building? And what exciting, maybe unexpected doors will that new identity open for you?
Before you go, remember this. Every word you learn makes you stronger. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. You'll find more lessons, more stories, and more English practice to help you feel confident in any situation. Don't forget to like this video and share it with someone who might need it. Let's keep learning together. See you in the next lesson.